What's up, Internet? It's Brandon here, and we are back with another episode of Free2Play Weekly. As always, we'll be taking a look at all of the games that were released free to play on Steam for the past week, and I'll be showing a little bit of gameplay and giving a little bit of my opinion on what the game is and how it plays. We have a thing called, for those who are new to the channel, we have a thing called the Spotlight Vote, where there's 4 games that I've selected that the winning vote will be played live on Thursday evening at 10 p.m. on my channel. I usually play for like an hour. Last week we played Mirror Phantoms and we actually beat the game, so we ended up finishing, a full playthrough of that game, which was cool. And it wasn't the first time that's happened, so it's a fun time. You can hop in and watch a little bit of the gameplay live, ask questions. If you have questions about the channel or my process or whatever, I'm happy to talk about whatever during that time, and also get to showcase some games. So that having been said, let's dive into this week's games. The first spotlight game option is FragPunk. FragPunk is a first-person shooter that follows the format of like Valorant and Counter-Strike, where one team is trying to plant an explosive and the other team is trying to defend from that explosive being planted, and also defuse it if it does get planted. The gameplay plays out very similar to those two games, but there is a unique mechanic in that there are cards that you acquire, and at the start of the round, like, your cards become available. I'm not completely clear on the card mechanic in terms of how you know what cards are going to show up for a given round, but you can use your points to consume these cards and, in essence, change how the round plays out. So in the competitive game I played, competitive in air quotes, I think it was standard, not actually like ladder match, there was one card where like the team was attacking and they played a card that switched sides, so they ended up defending for an extra round, which can be a big advantage on a map that's defense sided, and we ended up losing that round. So there was also cards that like increase visibility, increase movement speed, and so there's a couple different things you can do each round to change how your team plays and give your team an advantage or not. So yeah, it was, it's fun. It's fun to play. Like I said, I played a competitive game. I got a triple kill, Q triple kill, and I like shooters. I play a lot of shooters, and so it was a game that was pretty natural for me to jump into. I've also played a lot of hero-based games, so having abilities, once you learn the abilities, is something I can get behind. So this is a game that has a lot of potential. I did read about this game a little bit, and someone was mentioning there's a ton of different currencies, which I didn't encounter in my brief time with the game, so that might be something to consider as well. The next game in the spotlight vote is Railway Chai Walla. This is a game where you run a chai stand in a subway. There's gameplay where you make coffee or chai, or you make some food dishes for people who come up and order them. And there's a little bit of tie-ins between, there's like a newspaper that you read at the start of each day and the people you meet. This is touted as a suspense game, so that's why I put it in here. When I first played it, it felt kind of like a sim, right? Like you're running your restaurant in the subway. But since the description says it's a suspense game, I'm wondering if there's maybe more to this that is worth playing through. And maybe we give that a try on the spotlight. I know that these kind of management cozy-ish games have been picked before, and like I said, I always try to have varied options on the spotlight vote, and I feel like this game could be one that could be fun to play together. The next spotlight option is Scrap Collector. This is a game that, just looking at it, I knew I would like this game, but I like this game. It is a game where you manage everything via cards, and you unlock blueprints as you level up to get new cards. You also can create bots that help you complete tasks faster. And so the gameplay loop is you place your character or a bot on top of a card. They complete the action that that card does. So there's a card called Locator. You put a character on that. When the timer expires, they find a new location for you to explore. You put a character on that, and then you find items in that location or other cards that you can utilize. So like in the forest, you can find a scrap heap, and the scrap heap creates scrap for as long as it runs until it runs out of scrap. And you can just mine scrap directly from the heap. There's also the ability to unlock mines and bosses and other things, and so this feels like a game that there's a lot of opportunity for growth throughout a playthrough. And so I wanted to include it in the spotlight vote for that reason. I feel like there could be a lot to unlock here, but I also know that this gameplay style isn't for everyone. So it's in the vote options. I enjoyed it a lot. If you like card-based games, I recommend checking it out. The final option in the spotlight vote is Death to the Universe, Act 1. In Death to the Universe, you play Death, and you are trying to find the last two souls, I believe, in the universe to kill to complete your job of killing everything in existence. The universe itself is a disembodied voice that talks to you throughout your playthrough, a little bit sassy, a little bit anti-death, not believing in you being able to get the job done. The game plays like a platformer. A controller is recommended with this game. You can run around and there's a grappling hook, there's double jump, and then there's an attack action for whenever you encounter something that's attacking you. Um, I played this for a decent amount of time. I enjoyed it a good amount. It's very well made. I like the storytelling aspects and the art style, so I wanted to include this as the fourth option for the spotlight. I have a couple honorable mentions this week that I was considering for the spotlight. The first one is Liquor Store Simulator Prologue. This is a prologue for a game that's going to release in Q2, but it looks like a pretty good sim. You have to check IDs when you're checking out people who are buying alcohol, which was a nice touch. It was a little confusing when someone just bought chips, and I'm like, "Where's your ID, man?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're just getting some Fritos? Okay, you're good to go." Based on the stuff on the computer, there's a lot of room to grow in this game. There's a lot of unlocks and customization you can do, and new displays to order, etc. But since this is just a prologue, I don't know how much of that is fully accessible. Um, I do assume that the full game is not going to be free, but it was, fun to get around in there and do a little bit of a heavy sim on running a liquor store. The other honorable mention is The Children of Clay. That one I did not include in the spotlight vote simply because it was too short. The game is not very long, but it was very good. I enjoyed it very much. It's a suspense horror game that you are investigating a piece of art that was dropped off. You're an archaeologist and you're trying to figure out what it is and what it means. The gameplay takes about 15 minutes to play through. But it was good. I enjoyed it. And so if you have 15 minutes and you like horror suspense genre, I recommend trying out The Children of Clay. All right. Now let's dive into quick hits. I've been keeping quick hits at 20 seconds per game. That felt good last week, so that's what we're going to do this week. Rotosaurus Adventure. Rotosaurus Adventure is a nice puzzle game where you rotate the map to solve small puzzles that open doors to new areas of the larger map. So you dive into a section, complete that section, and when you complete it, it removes a wall so you can continue through the main map. 9 games, 2 buttons. 9 games, 2 buttons is a game where you play up to 9 games simultaneously. Each game only has 2 buttons that are crucial to the success within that game, but across all 9 games you have 18 buttons you're managing while trying to win all games at the same time. You Are Late. You Are Late is a point-and-click adventure game that has a nice art style and an interesting way to interact with the world around you with the objects that you collect. Face to Face. Face to Face is a puzzle game where you make faces connect through similar shapes or colors. So if you have a blue circle next to a blue square, next to a red square, next to a red circle, and there are faces on either side, they will connect and kiss. Glory Destiny Reborn. Glory Destiny Reborn is a cozy MMO that really walks you through the quests. There's also the ability to teleport to a quest, which is nice time saver, but breaks immersion a little bit. Fomon. Fomon is an early access idler of sorts where you unlock cards every hour or by completing quests. You then use those cards in battles, and there's some aspect of cards have advantages against other cards, and the battles are semi-random. War Robots Frontiers. War Robots Frontiers is a third-person mech game where you battle against other mechs. There's the ability to upgrade your mech or change out your weapons to find one that suits your preferences. Game of Rolink. Game of Rolink is a really interesting concept. It plays out kind of like poker, where you bet on the units that are in your hand. I will say the AI is a little aggressive and pretty much always goes all in, but if they can grow this game to be multiplayer and to have a standing gold count that you can take from game to game, I think it could be a real hit. Oppa Super Jenkin. Oppa Super Jenkin, I believe, is a rock, paper, scissors game. You get a new card every hour, but there were no lobbies or tutorial, so I couldn't get a feel for how the game actually plays. Colossal Crisis. Colossal Crisis is a good start to a platformer. I had some serious rendering lag that made my eyes hurt when I was playing, but there's an update coming out, so maybe that will address those issues. Hack and Slash Fury. Hack and Slash Fury is a third-person battle game that was difficult to play and asks for money before you do anything to be able to res where you die or a couple of other options. The combat was fine. Ball Drop. Ball Drop is a simple platform puzzle game where you have to work your way down as the ball to make it to the exit of each map. I found this game to be pretty relaxing and laid back, so it's enjoyable for people who want a puzzle game to play. Bird Bump. Bird Bump is a little casual game where you can click to go higher and kind of expand your body, and it'll get kind of knocked out by things that you run into. Avoid the ceiling, avoid the pits, avoid enemies, and collect as many coins as you can while surviving. The Void Chronicles Cronus. The Void Chronicles is a time loop mystery game where you are in this loop and discovering things about a mystery that is targeting you, and there's two characters that you play as. I did get stuck in a room, so hopefully you get further than me. Chasers. Chasers is a mobile-first action game where I ended up needing to use a controller just to be able to hit all of the buttons in an easy way. The full tutorial and exposition took about 30 minutes, which felt like a long time while trying to get rolling in the game, but the combat was decently challenging. Newton. In Newton, you catch apples. Different apples do different things. There's a codex that you can unlock after your first playthrough to know what apples you collected do. One of them switches gravity. I know that for sure. The rest, I don't know. Bloodline. Bloodline is an arcade-style game. It was a little hard to get the hang of the combat, but I was able to beat a boss once I got used to it. Again, with this game, a controller is recommended for ease of play. FP Racer. FP Racer is a relaxing drive through the maps and hit boost game. I recommend a controller for this one as well, just so that it's easier to glide around the map and make it through different tight sections. MV Echoes of Harmony. MV is a game where you fly around using a gravitational grappling hook and find notes. You can also light rings by using your other gravitational push. This is another controller recommended game. There were a lot this week. Milky Way Idol. Milky Way Idol is an idle game that has a super deep amount of things that you can discover. There's a ton of items to build, there's a ton of things to fight, there's a ton of places to discover. It does seem like a very large idle game. Slumbering Feline. In Slumbering Feline, you play a cat mage. This has a high difficulty game of timing. The juxtaposition of throwing up a block and then immediately firing back, you have to re-aim instead of just shooting again, which I found to be difficult. StrikeNet. StrikeNet is an arena game. There was no way to join another person's game, and my lobby I left open for 5 minutes and no one joined it, so I do not know how it plays. Hidden Cats City. Hidden Cats are a free-to-play weekly staple. This one has a nice feature where when you finish all the cats in a given section, it actually colored it in, which made it easier to know what sections you were missing cats from. Faceless. Faceless is an ARPG that has different types of maps that you take portals to. I played a platforming map that was then followed by an arena map. The gameplay was smooth. I felt like the game was well executed, so this one could be worth checking out. Pig and Chicken. Pig and Chicken is a platformer where you are a pig who's on a journey to find the wings that you lost, and in order to be able to take flight to find them, a chicken has joined forces with you to carry you as far as he can. Face Love, Face Designer. Face Love is a game where you build faces with random parts that jettison out of a tube, and you get congratulated on your hard work and can see all the beautiful faces you made. Here's mine. Hyperflight. Hyperflight is a side-scrolling game that you collect these colored orbs while dodging meteors. My game crashed after about a minute and a half, so I was only able to get that far, but it played fine up to that point. The Last Tape. The Last Tape is a horror prologue that focuses on the exposition and not necessarily the horror aspect. I felt the game had good graphics and was smooth to play while discovering your way through to the inner part of like a walled area. Restoring the Past. Restoring the Past is another game like the one last week where you rebuild broken pottery, but this game doesn't have the advantage of seeing it put together first. So you just have to start blind and try to figure out how these pieces fit together to form the shape. Dimension Escape. Dimension Escape is a card game where you build out 3 heroes that have 4 abilities each. The abilities have a cooldown and a cost. The cost is how many turns it'll be until that hero can use that card again, and then the cooldown is how long your hero has to wait until their next action. And kind of starting off my Unplayeds, Dashfire is a game that only had direct matchmaking by lobby ID, so I could not play it. Also falling under the Unplayed section, there were 9 games that released on the same day by 3 developers that all have a very similar looking logo, and so I just was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm not going to play them. But here they are in case anyone else wants to, and I'll have the link in the description. And that wraps up episode 12. As always, I appreciate your time here. I appreciate all the feedback and comments. They help me keep trudging along as, I run into weeks like this where there's 40 games. It's a lot to try to play throughout the week. And so, I appreciate the engagement, and always, if there's something you feel I can do to improve, I'm always happy to hear it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on Thursday for the Spotlight.